Hey everyone, welcome back. Now that we've got the floor done in this duster, it's time to turn our attention to the back half of the car. Let me show you what's next. Okay, so here's the plan. We're going to put new quarter skins on both sides of the car to deal with some of the dents and of course the rust on both sides. And we're going to put a new full trunk floor in this car and passenger driver extensions. Both are rotted beyond repair. While we're in here, we're going to replace those. The rest of the floor pan, the upper section there is fine. The wheel houses on both sides are good, and the tail pan is good. So that's the major sheet metal work that we have left to do in this car. And here's our sheet metal ready to go in. We've got left and right extensions. We've got the gas tank brace that welds into the full trunk pan. And here's the full trunk pan. All these pieces are from AMD. And then here we go with new quarter skins. Just hanging up for now. These are Goodmark quarter skins. AMD does not make a quarter skin. They only make, for the dusters, a full quarter. And so I went this way because a full quarter from AMD, both sides, shipped to my door, $2,800 Canadian. These Goodmark skins were $700. So that's the path that we're going. The car doesn't need full quarter skins. As much as I'd like to use AMD on everything, it's just not worth the extra money to go ahead and put a full quarter on here. So we're going to use these skins, and I think we're going to make out just fine with those. Just want to take a minute and talk about budgeting for a build like this. Unless you've got an endless pile of cash, which I don't, what I'm trying to do with these builds is make good choices on where to put money. You saw already in the series that I didn't go ahead and buy new fenders. Those would have been well over $1,000 a piece. I instead invested my time in areas where I knew I could replace what was rusted or what was damaged and still have a good outcome. Areas like the floor where it was too far gone, I couldn't save it, and to do a repair like that myself and to have it look like it came from the factory, nearly impossible. So the best route there was to buy a whole new floor pan. The same goes for the quarters and the trunk floor and the extensions. Really beyond me to reproduce those pieces and have them look like it's factory. So I replaced those. And so when you're going through these builds, you've just got to make good choices. And you saw earlier I mentioned about the quarter panels. Spending $2,800 on full quarters only to use portions of them, or to go through the effort in pulling out the full quarter on this side when it's really not necessary. Just at points like this, you've got to make careful choices on where you're going to put your money. I don't like to get too lopsided on these builds. It's not that I'm building these cars to sell them. This is a hobby. I enjoy doing it. But I don't want to get lopsided where I've got way more money into this car than it'll ever be worth. So that's just an approach I take. You're going to see that along the series here where I'm making choices about where to put dollars and where to put time. So just want to take a minute, explain my thought process on that. Cheers. You can see I've already went ahead and got the rear bumper off. That was pretty easy to get off, which was great. And what we have to do now is get this back area all prepped. Need to take the fuel tank pipe out, get that all out, get all this wiring out. We'll take out the rear tail lights. We're going to have to take out this brace here for the trunk lock. We'll take out both lights on either side for the markers. And then we're going to have to start to take away all of that seam seal. Need to get this all gone so that we can see where we're going to be cutting and pulling out all of these pieces. Remembering that this part here is going to stay all in here. It's just this piece here that's going to get replaced. That front pan is in good shape, so we're good to go there. I've got the welding blanket there. I'm just going to hang that up on the back here so we can keep our sparks from the back of the car there. And yeah, there we go. That's the next step. Okay, I've got all that seam sealer taken out, and this wheel well here looks to be okay, but I'll know once I get this extension and pan off if I need to have any repair on this lip here. This looks like it might be a little dicey in here, but again, I won't know until I get that all taken off. This side for sure, though, is going to need a new lip on the bottom side of that outer wheelhouse. So not a big deal. This one might need something too. Won't know until I get this off again, until that's off and I can get that all wire wheeled and cleaned up and see how much repair we have to do there. But otherwise, all of that seam sealer is out, all along the back in here and over here as well. So now I can see what I'm working with, and that's out of the way. So what we're going to start with now, as well, marker lights, tail lights are out, of course. So we're good to go. What I'm going to start with is, you can see this white line I've got here marked out. I'm going to get that cut out first as a starting point to getting this trunk pan out. The frame rail on either side comes in, you can see the spot welds there, comes in and just runs down here. So I'm safe to cut out this section here. There's nothing on the bottom side of that. And same thing on this side, frame rail comes down, and we can cut that white line here. On the back, I'll be a little conservative on where I'm going to cut, but that all will get this pan out, and then actually I can step inside the trunk here and start to work from inside and begin taking the rest of the trunk pan out. All right, getting there step by step. You can see I'm going to have a great chance to clean up this frame rail and get that all treated before I cover it up with the new floor pan. I've got this extension and part of the trunk pan flipped up. What I'm going to do now is come over to this side, and we're going to slice up the quarter and create just a window in here. All right, that's what I was looking for there. All that's out. We'll work on these edge pieces last, but for now, we've got the clearance that we need now, and of course, all of that's out. You'll notice that I stopped here, and the reason for that is I need to save this brace. It's still good, and therefore on both sides, I didn't order new ones. And so we want to save these, and also back here, there's a bracket right here that I didn't order new. These I think are still in good shape as well, so I'm going to reuse those. So that was an option to buy with the extensions, and I chose not to. So I just want to be careful about what I'm cutting back here, and just do that really carefully. So let's go on to the next step. Okay, same process on this side. Let's get that cut out, both on the inside and that rear lower quarter section. Okay, next step is I'm going to try and save these brackets. So I've marked the spot welds with white paint pen. Those are where I'm going to drill those out. And on this side, the same. So I'm going to drill these out, and then maybe with a little work with the air chisel, I'll be able to pull this bracket out. Let's give it a shot. Okay, spot welds are drilled. Let's see what damage we can do here with air chisel. Alright, didn't go quite as planned. I've got all of the spot welds drilled out, air chisel took it off, except for, you can see back here, barely see in there, but there's a tab from this plate that bends down around the back of that extension and is welded or sandwiched in between the rear tail pan and the extension. So it's not going to come off without damaging it. So lesson learned for the driver's side. What I'm going to do is I've drilled out these spot welds here that retain that extension, and I'm going to now slice the extension down the length of the floor pan here, and then I should be able to air chisel this whole thing out and drop the extension completely, which is probably the method I should do next time on the driver's side. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. Okay, we're in business. Got that bracket out. A little bit of hammer and dolly work, and that will be awesome for reinstallation. And got the rest of that extension out. And this is the other bracket that I didn't order, and I think just a little bit of cleanup on that and we're going to be fine too. So feeling pretty good about how that's come out. Now we can just replicate that on the other side. Next up, trunk brace. This has to come out for the new pan to come in. You can see I've got the spot welds marked out up at the top, on either side at the bottom, and down here we're just going to use the cutoff wheel, cut that off the floor pan, and then we'll clean up all of that brace once it's out of the car. I won't have to worry about measuring because I'm going to drill right through the spot welds, so those will be my lineup marks. And yeah, I'm going to get these drilled out and we'll go for it. All right, trunk brace is out. You can see I'm going to have to repair this down here. I'll likely cut a straight line across here and put a new piece of 18 gauge butt welded on here, ground flat. That'll give me a nice finish to the new trunk floor pan. Otherwise, a little bit of hammer and dolly work and that piece is ready to go back. Happy with how that's come out. Now, it's time to turn our attention to this last piece of the floor pan on this edge here. I'll use the air chisel over here. This is weak metal and with the gauge of the frame rail like I've done over here. I'll just air chisel all that off. I'll put a slice over here and that'll be it for that. When it comes to this back lip, it's a little bit more complicated, especially this lip across here. You'll see that on this side, I've got all of the spot welds marked out across the whole back side of the car. I'm going to go ahead and drill all those out. Those holes that I'm drilling out right now will end up being the place where I use rosette welds on the new floor pan. So the new floor pan will butt up against, it will not have any holes. It'll butt up against, I'll pinch the two pieces of metal together and I'll rosette weld there. On this side here, where the floor pan meets this cross brace, I will pre-drill holes down in the floor pan along this whole side. You can see where the existing ones are. I'll do the same sort of thing on the new floor pan. So no holes on the new floor pan back here, but I will have to drill holes here and of course along the frame rail so I can do my rosette welds there. So that's the next step. I'm going to get all of that drilled and I'm going to start to peel off this piece here. I'll pick you up when that's done and then we'll come over to this side and we're going to try and pull that bracket off in a better way than the passenger side. Okay, I've got all of those spot welds drilled along the whole back side of that tail panel floor pan matchup and over here, and I've drilled out as well the 3 holes that are on this extension. But on the other side I just used the air chisel, but I thought I can see the spot welds, why don't we drill them out, make it easier to pull that extension out. And so now I believe we're ready to make a slice down here like we did on the other side, and then with the air chisel I should be able to work this piece of the extension out. Once that's done, I'm going to turn my attention to taking all the rest of this pan out with the air chisel, working my way across the whole side. That will finish up the entire back side of the car, and then I'll come up and dress up this last inch that's on the front. And that'll be it for removal. So I'll pick you up when I'm ready to work on the front side and let you know how I made out on the back. Okay, I've got that extension out. You can see though that the bracket that extends off the cross brace is pretty mangled, so I'm going to end up making a new one of those. It would not come off the extension unlike the passenger side did. That had a clean break without actually drilling plug welds, so got lucky on that one, but this one not so much. I'm going to have to make a new one of those, and it's a pretty simple one to make, so I'll take a look when I'm putting this all back together later and decide if I'm going to make a new one for this side or just reuse that one. But this one will certainly have to get made. Again, very simple piece to make. Otherwise, that bracket came out, and so I can drill that out now and take that bracket off and reuse it. So that's good news. And so yeah, there's the hole now. Before I get moving on to taking the rest of the rear floor pan off, there's something I want to do. When I take this floor pan off here, which is secured to the frame rail, it's the tail panel. When I take this off, it will, in fact, have this tail pan and rear quarter free floating and no longer attached to the rear rails and the cross brace. So I'm going to go ahead and brace that because I don't want it to move. It may, and so I don't want to have it move. So what I'm going to do is put a brace somewhere in this location here up to the tail panel. I'll use some angle iron. I'll show you how I'm going to do that in a moment. And I'll do it on both sides so I don't get any movement this way and no movement this way. Again, safety measure on this one, I just don't want that to move. So let me get that bracket made up and I'll show you what's going on. Okay, this is what I went ahead and did on both sides. A couple pieces of angle iron welded to the cross brace, which is welded to the frame rails, and welded up to the tail panel, which now ties the tail panel and the cross brace, and of course then the frame rails together so that I can now pull the floor pan out, which was doing that job previously, and not have this free float at all, either left or right or up or down. Again, I don't think that was going to be a big risk, but don't want to have that problem. So this is what I've done on both sides now. You can see that's all welded up on the other side. So that's braced, and now I'm going to go ahead and pull out all of the remainder of the floor pan. Once I have that done, I'll pick you up. We'll take a look inside the frame rail, see what we're looking at, and then we'll move on to the last piece up along the front here. There's about an inch left on the front just to pull off with a bit of grinding and air chisel. I think we'll get that off without too much problem. Okay, got that all off now along the whole back edge, and you can see now what I meant by how the rear tail panel would be free floating because it's no longer attached anywhere along the back side here. Now, theoretically, because the quarters and the tail panel are all tied together to the wheel houses and then to the frame rails, it shouldn't move much. However, again, just better to be safe than sorry. And so now I can move on to the next step, which is taking off this front ledge. It's just maybe an inch or so along that front edge and then a little bit on each of the front of the wheel houses there. So we'll get that done. And then we'll come back and we'll do a bit of an assessment on where we're at. Okay, I've got all the remaining metal from the floor pan and the extensions out now. Came up pretty well. Got a few areas to repair. You can see I've got an area here I've got to repair, area here, and area here. It's just collateral damage from the air chisel and thinking you've got enough of the spot weld cut out or not. It's no big deal. It's just pretty normal. This lip of the wheel well looks really good. It just needs to be cleaned up, wire wheeled, and I think we're going to be, well, you can see a hole right there. We may have to do something with that, but it's in pretty good shape, I would say. This one over here, again, needs to be wire wheeled so I can see what I'm dealing with, but I know I got to create a small patch here, really insignificant, really, and weld up these holes. Other than that, and then of course back here I've got to clean up some collateral damage down here as well. All along the lip, I've got a hammer and dolly. Got to clean up some of where it's torn. It's just, it's just the way it goes with pulling out these old pieces. But I think before I get into repairing and to cleaning these frame rails and treating those, let's just go ahead and see if that floor pan's going to fit in here. All right, yeah, fits great in here. Looks great, fits great. Really minimal work to get this to fit tighter along all the edges, but you can see along the back that matches just great. Of course, it's got to be pushed down fully into position, but it's great. You can see, for instance, it matches that curve there, matches that curve down there on the tail panel, so it's positioned where it needs to be. Yeah, we're rocking. So I'm going to pull this out now, and I'm going to get those frame rails all cleaned up. Okay, we've got a few repair areas here. One here, here, this one here, which I might just weld up. Gonna weld up this hole here, and that will finish this lip off. We will do rosette welds into the trunk plane down, and so the bottom will remain flush and smooth. So we want all of this to be cleaned up and nice and solid. We can always dress it up later when it's either on the hoist or the rotisserie before final paint. We'll be doing body work underneath the car, so we can always dress it up there, but we want to start cleaning this. Definitely needs to get cleaned up before we put that new pan on. So we've got some extra 18 gauge here with the straight edge, so we'll just start with this one here, maintain that edge. Just get that cut out. Okay, we've got all of those spot weld drill holes cleaned up, filled in. Got the patches here, here, welded up this, didn't need a patch, just welded it. And all of over here is all cleaned up as well. So now all I have to do is just grind this off, a little bit of hammer dolly work, and I've got a beautiful lip now to mate up with the new floor pan. Okay, all ground down and ready for the installation of that new pan. It's all good and solid, no pinholes. Lip looks good, ready to go. Okay, the other thing I've done is I've gone through each of the frame rails with a variety of different wire wheel attachments and cleaned out the scale as best I could all throughout here. You'll see that it's black now. It's because it's been treated with Duplicolor Rust Fix. That's why you see that dark color, and that's just it's been sitting overnight. Again, all that's been wire wheeled and treated. The other thing I've done is I've cleaned up all of the surfaces, the top surfaces from the previous floor pan, the plug welds and the air chisel, all that work. So that's all flat. They're ready for the new floor pan. The other thing I've done is I've gone through the hammer and dolly to make sure that these lips are straight and pointed up just a little bit. We want that nice, clean, tight fit with the new floor pan. So that's been done on all of these outer edges, on both sides, as well as along the back cross member here that ties the two rails together. So the rails are done and ready to go. What I will do before the new pan goes on is I'll hit these with weld through primer, as well as, of course, all these areas here. The back tail pan is prepped and ready to go as well. It's dollied and it's ready to mate up with the new floor pan. I've left all the holes there because those are going to be used for the plug welds to the new floor pan. And so that'll all be ground down from the outside of the car. And so we'll weld it up here, all through along the whole edge of the car, and then that'll all be ground down flat and made to look nice. So I believe we have everything prepped for the new floor pan. Oh, and by the way, here's where we're at with all the old rusted steel pulled out of this duster. Trunk floor pan bits, extensions. This is what's left of the old floor pan, main part of the car, and bits from the fenders as well. All that's missing, I think, from this pile at this stage will be the quarter panels that are going to come off. Other than that, I think the rest of the car will remain intact. Well, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. We've got all of the old floor pan extensions out. Everything is cleaned and prepped, repaired as well, and ready to accept the new floor pan. And that's where I'll pick you up next week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next Friday.